Hello everyone, it is Broken Nose Gaming. Welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz, and that is because we have a World of Tanks Blitz episode that we'll be doing today. Now this one's going to be on a Russian Tier 7 heavy, not the KV-3, that's going to be for another time. We're going to be looking at the IS. Now as you can see here, this is the final configuration of the IS. The IS is pretty similar to its PC counterpart. There are a couple differences. If we go back here, you'll notice that there's only 3 gun choices, and that is the 100, which is stock, and then you have 2 different 122s, one being the 122 that you get for the KV-1S, which has slightly less pen and a slightly longer reload, and then there's the better 122, which has the standard 175 pen and slightly better reload. So the cool thing about the IS, in my opinion, and there's 2 ways to play it, that is either the 100mm or the 122, and it's also really cool that the 100 is stock. You don't get like the awful 85mm. The differences between the 100 and the 122, the pen's the same. Rate of fire is much better, obviously, with the 100. The 122 is almost 5 seconds longer, but the big deal obviously is going to be the alpha. The 100 only gives you 280 alpha, where you get a whole 400 with the 122. The DPM is very similar to each other, maybe off by just about 100, but that's not really a big deal. You can always make that work. We'll take a look at it again real quick here. Looks pretty nice, real similar to the PC version. I gotta say, for what is considered a mobile game, it does look really good on the PC, in my opinion. I'll go ahead and I'll go back here, and then I'll go ahead and bring up our stat comparison. Alright, so here is the stat chart. Hopefully, the first thing you notice is that I've tidied up the chart just a little bit. Instead of highlighting the entire thing where it would say like the DPM value and also the DPM wording, I'm only going to highlight the values going forward. Hopefully this is a little bit easier to read and it's a little bit more pleasing to the eyes. I'm still using the same color chart as before. I'm just hoping this change is just a little bit easier for everyone and doesn't look so busy and ugly. The other thing I want to say is we're going to be only comparing the 122 top configurations on the PC and Blitz version. While the 100mm option is viable, and I will show you a replay with the 100mm, I don't think it's generally the most accepted and common way to play the IS. I believe that the 122 is the most common way. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look here. In the DPM department, you'll notice that the Blitz version's definitely trailing behind the PC version. The Blitz version's at 1669, while the PC version's at 1984, almost 2000 DPM. Which is really nice, and that's always going to be attributed to the reload time, where at the Blitz version we're looking at 14, almost 15 seconds, and the PC version we're looking at almost 12 seconds. So that's a 3-second difference in terms of reload, and that brings your rate of fire down to 4 versus the PC version where it's 5 rounds a minute. And that's definitely a big difference. In the Blitz version, since there's less targets, I don't think it affects you as much. At least that's my opinion. The caliber is the same, obviously, because they're both 122s. The shell velocity is the same, which I've yet to find a shell velocity that's different in either version. If it's one in one version, it generally is the same in the other. Penetration is also the same because, like I said, we're doing the top 122s. If we were to use the second to top on the Blitz version, you'd be at 160. The upside, if you look at the alpha, it is 10 better in the Blitz version at 400 versus the 390 in the PC version. So that's a nice little plus. And the weapon handling is pretty similar in terms of the PC and Blitz version. The aim time is identical. The dispersion is a little bit better in the Blitz version at 0.422 versus 0.44. That's not a huge difference, but that does not help the dispersion on the move, where the Blitz version, in my opinion, is much worse than the PC version at 0.22 moving and rotating, and then if you move the turret, it's 0.18. If you take a look at the PC version, you're looking at 0.2 on moving and rotating the tank, and only 0.15 on turret traverse. So as long as you sort of keep your tank more still when you're firing, I guess you're okay. The better dispersion, I guess, is sort of balanced out with the worst dispersion on the move. And then if you take a look at the depression and elevation, they are identical, 6 down, 25 up. And then moving on to the mobility department, it's pretty identical. Not a whole lot of difference. 34 forwards, 14 backwards. Both have a 700 horsepower top engine. The power to weight ratio is slightly better on the Blitz version, which again seems to be a trend, and that's going to be attributed to the slightly lighter weight of the Blitz version. But if you take a look at the terrain resistance, the Blitz version is slightly worse in the first 2 departments, which this can kind of be hit and miss. Some tanks are like this, and then other tanks are either totally beating the PC version or totally falling behind. Here, the first 2 categories, which I consider hard or medium terrain, so hard being like concrete or asphalt, and then medium kind of just being like dirt or grass, the Blitz version falls behind at 1.1 and 1.4 versus the 1.05 and 1.34. Not a huge difference. You're still going to notice that the Blitz version is slower. The most important stat in this grouping here is the worst third terrain, which is soft, so mud, water, just nasty, gross stuff. 1.8 versus 2.21. So that's a huge difference, in my opinion, when it comes to the terrain resistance in that final area, which is really nice for the Blitz version. And then finally, we'll just kind of wrap this up with the everything else category, as it's called on the Tanks GG thing here. The hit points, way better on the Blitz version at 1400, and this is stock. These are both stock tanks, no mods or equipment pieces on the tanks. 1400 versus 1230, much, much better on the Blitz version. The armor, and this is another kind of interesting one. So the sides and the rear on both the turret and the hull are the same, but if you look at the front, the turret armor on the IS in Blitz is much better at 140, so that's 40 millimeters more than the PC version, and 155 for the hull versus 120, so that's 35 more. And that's much more comfortable to play in. You're definitely going to be bouncing more shots, especially if you angle, move, just kind of keep your tank in weird positions to where you'll have rounds bounce off. And then, like I said earlier, the weight on the Blitz version at 45 versus 46 is what gives the better horsepower to weight ratio. So that sort of wraps up everything in terms of the comparison versus the PC version. If you do notice one thing, I actually am running the stock engine, so I'm 100 horsepower less than the top configuration, just as a heads up. So, and if you notice my tank being slower than normal, that's why. But we'll go ahead and we'll go to the replays now. So I have 2 replays, like I've said I'll be doing from here on out, and they're going to be of the 100 millimeter and of the 122 millimeter. So we'll go ahead and we will start with the 100 millimeter. All right, so here we are on Rockfield, and as you can see, there's the 100 millimeter on the front there, not the 122. So the reload is a lot shorter at 8.4 versus what you'll see on the 122. Anyway, so everyone gets moving here. This is a Tier 7, Tier 6 match. More Tier 6s than Tier 7s. I go ahead and go off to the right. I'm following 2 mediums. I believe, I don't know where my other heavy went, but we actually have 1 less heavy than the other team. Anyways, so I'm going to follow up. I have a Cromwell and a VK 3001 Porsche with me. I come up to this little hill area because I figure my tank's a little bit quicker than most normal heavies, even with the stock engine. I have yet to find anyone. Ah, there they are. So apparently, I guess the other team just went all the way around the other side. Nobody split up. Yeah, they all trained it out on the other side here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 of the tanks right there. So I have eyes on 6 of the tanks. We just lost the tank. We lost our other heavy. And that's why you don't go out by yourself with a KV-2, by the way. Heads up. I do find the other 7th tank. He fires around. I fire around back. We both miss. He bounces off of me. So I believe he has the autoloader. He's fired 3 shots and bounced all 3 off of me. I'm not really concerned with him. Somebody else is taking care of him right now. I figured I'll take my shot at the SU-100 and hit the dirt. This is not turning into a very good match. Luckily, since I have a quicker reload, it's not the end of the world. Finally, I do some damage. Now, that's the only downside about this gun is its alpha is very anemic at 280. And here, I mean, I've done almost my average damage on both shots, but still, it takes a while. I take care of the SU-100, so now I have an M6, the Black Prince, and I believe there is one other heavy. I don't know where he's at. I think he's being dealt with on another side of the flank. The Black Prince, I can hit. He's putting some shots into me. I can hit that little strip down at the bottom, but I just noticed that there's the M6 behind me. So I figure, ooh, what a high roll, 300. So now I helped out, and the Firefly managed to knock out the M6 after I put a shot into it. Now I'm going to kind of go back up here and hopefully help out our light tank. I want to get that Black Prince knocked out. He is distracted. Now, as you can see, there's a couple different spots you can hit him. I'm going to go for that plate down the bottom. Ooh, another high roll. Nice. Now, the Firefly's helping me out too. I get that light tank pushed back. Made sure he didn't die. That was kind of a big thing for me. You can see, though, even though I'm firing a lot, man, I'm missing a lot of shots here. Whew. Oh, boy. Okay, so there's the other heavy. He's way over there. I finally bounced a shot from the Black Prince, but I also bounced a shot off of him. He's going to try and reload quicker, which I don't know why. He's got a fast reload. So I figure if I can wait him out, it'll sort of waste his reload. So there we go. I put another shot into him. I've essentially wasted his reload consumable, which more power to me. And I finally got rid of that Black Prince. Whew. Alright, so I'm at 1,800 damage so far, and now I see the FV201. I put a shot into him. He hits the rock. I think he's another one of the tanks that has a fast reload, and I'm kind of baiting him. I put another shot into him. He misses me again, so I'm happy with that. Now I see there's a Firefly down there. The LTTB seems to be trying to take the Firefly on. I'm trying to get down there as soon as I can because I don't want to lose the Firefly, the LTTB. I lose the LTTB. The other Firefly helps me out, I guess, by ramming him. And then I finally put a shot into the other Firefly. So now it's just me versus the FV201. I'm in a terrible position. I had to relocate. I finally get my front to the, the 201 here. Now I finally start bouncing shots. I'm still a little bit nervous here. I'm still alive, and I'm still putting shots into him. A lot of people seem to think that I'm not going to be able to win this, and yet, ooh, he almost took me out there, but I only have to hit him one more time. I damaged his ammo rack, so I was hoping I could take care of him, and I do. Managed to win that round, 1v1, and it wasn't a bad match either if we take a look here. I mastered the tank. I do 3,200 damage. I get a high caliber, I get a steel wall, and if we look at team-wise, the 201 did pretty good for his team, but the LTTB and the IS teamwork over on our side seemed to really help out. Whew. We did have some tanks that, went out early, like the KV-2, but that's one tank that I don't recommend going out solo with. Anyways. So, the 100mm, not a bad game, 3,000 damage. I managed to knock out 4 tanks, and I ended up with a profit there down below. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the 122 match now. So the 122 match, actually same setup, 3 7s, 4 6s, and I'm looking at my heavies here. I got a Mutant 6, I got a Tiger Porsche, I got a KV-1S. Unfortunately, I think that KV-1S doesn't have the 122. But in this match, I figured since I'm this close, I'm going to go this way with my other heavies up the way. I don't know what the KV-1S is doing. I just noticed he's pointing back. It's like he's never seen an M6 Mutant, I guess. But we're going to go to the little outpost town here, because I'm way too far away, and I don't think I'd ever be able to help out the tanks on the other side. I figure they'll do okay. And it turns out they all decide to follow us this way. They actually don't go to the little canyon tunnel over on that side. Which, okay, that's fine. Also, if you take a look here, the reload on this tank is 13.6, so it's about a 6-second reload difference. But I'm still going to make this work. So far, I have not seen any enemy tanks. They finally show up, and it's the same thing as before. We both kind of went in a circle. I do find an ARL, put one into him, 404 damage. Oh, damage track, kill the driver. M6 shows up. I bounce him. I bounce the ARL 44. So I'm doing good. I've put one shot into him. And I'm hoping to get a good shot on the KV-1S. I switch over, and we're really working both of these tanks down. The ARL 44 is almost entirely gone. I don't have to worry about him now. And now it's just the M6. So I'm going to come up on the M6. Same thing. There's that strip. I fire into that strip and I take him out. So we're already up 2-1. We have lost one tank. There's a Tiger 1. Now I'm hoping I can kind of... It's going to be tough. I wait for my tank to zoom in. 415 damage. I crit the engine. Ooh. And he doesn't repair his engine. So that Tiger is going to be moving slow. Now there's a Gravedigger too. I can't really get a shot on him. He drives away anyway, so I'll deal with him later. Another shot into me. I think it was the Chaffee. My tracks absorb it. I don't know who it is. It wasn't the Chaffee. But I've absorbed 2 shots in my tracks. No damage taken so far. Another shot. Again, I bounce it. I don't know who's firing at me at this time. I missed the Gravedigger. But now that the Gravedigger's sort of was involved with that other tank, he's kind of stuck down in the valley. I figure now's a good time. I can either come up on the Tiger or the Chaffee. The Chaffee's closer, so I figure I'll take him on. And I just managed to one-shot him. He was at 400 health, and I finally did a 400 average damage shot, and I took him out. We've still lost 2 tanks at this point. And somebody finally shoots me. I managed to take out the Tiger. Now the Gravedigger is all the way over there. The other tanks are a little bit further away, and I feel like the Gravedigger's a slightly bigger threat than the other tanks. He's moving on them. He's going after my Tiger Porsche, and now we don't have to worry about him. Whew. So we're already... Wow, this is a quick match. We're up 5-2. So there's the LTTB. He fires on the move, bounces me. But now I have a tank that I can engage. He's moving pretty quick. LTTBs are fast. I managed to at least know where he's going. I get spotted. That's fine. But I'm hoping I can cut him off at the pass. So instead of going all the way around, I should have gone the other way. But I decide... Oh, that's... And there's another tank, the Loza Sherman. I wonder if that was the tank that was firing into me. So it's a good thing I didn't cut him off, because the Loza Sherman would have been able to take me on the side there. But now I come up behind him. I put one into him. Ooh, 414 damage. That Alpha. Oh, that Alpha. I love the Alpha on these big 122s. So now I'm going to go ahead and sort of isolate the Sherman. He has his rear to me, which is not a good move. He starts to run away from me. I zoom in a little bit, and we take care of the Sherman. And now it's just the LTTB, which, again, is a mobile tank. He can definitely outrun all these tanks, and that's what he decides to do. He takes out the KV-1S, which I'm not surprised by. There's a Sherman Firefly over there, and he takes out the Sherman Firefly. I did put a shot into him, and I'm hoping I can get rid of him. I ram him. I'm hoping that would be enough. It was not enough. He rams the Tiger. They both die. And that's the match. Still, not a bad match. I end up with another Mastery Badge and another High Caliber. And that's because I do 3,700 damage in this match. And if we take a look here, that's by and far... I mean, the LTTB, again, comes in a close second at 2,500. But I pulled away in this match. Again, I killed 4 tanks. and I ended up just really kind of carrying this whole match. There are some tanks that only did, look at like the, sub 500 damage. I don't want to say, and I'm not saying that I'm a great player, but I definitely was a big contributing factor in winning this match as well. So again, another good match. I make a profit, another mastery badge on this. So that was like basically 2 back-to-back on that. Okay, so I think I'll go ahead and I'll wrap up the video. That was my review on the IS and Blitz. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it if you're going to be getting the tank soon or if you have the tank now. It's a good tank. If you don't have an IS clone and you want to keep it, there's no reason I say not to keep it. It's a good tank. With the 122, you can do almost 4,000 damage games. Even with the 100, I was clearing 3,000 damage games. So it's a good tank. It can hold its own. Thanks everybody for watching, and until next time, take it easy.